Hey, what's up? Welcome back. In this episode, you're going to see some just Ruby scripting and we're going to mess around with some files. The goal is that I'm trying to work on this video here that I'm recording for TikTok. If you're not on TikTok, it's super addicting. Stay off of it. But if you are, follow because I'm doing a bunch of Ruby content and posting it as the vertical videos or the social media clips on TikTok. But one thing that I wanted to do for this specific video was drop in icons. So inside of this repo for dev icon/dev icon, you'll find a ton of different languages, frameworks, stacks, and their related icons as SVGs. What's really cool is there are just a ton of different icons. So if we look for Ruby, we'll find Ruby down here. It even has like these beautiful SVGs of Ruby, of like the Ruby icon. And so what I wanted to do was use these images inside of this video, but it turns out ScreenFlow doesn't support SVG. Oh my gosh. And so what we need to do instead is convert these to PNGs. So I cloned that repository, and if we look at the directory structure here, there's this icons directory, and then inside of here, there's a directory for all of the different languages and frameworks. And you'll notice that for some of these, it will also have a .eps file in addition to some SVG files. So what I want to do is iterate over all of the files, all of the SVG files, and I want to shell out to some convert command that's going to convert them from SVG to PNG. Let's write a little Ruby script to get started. So I'm going to call this like convert to PNG.rb. And let's talk about the dir class inside of Ruby. So dir is short for directory, and there's a ton of different methods for working with an operating system. I think a lot of people before using like Ruby and Ruby on Rails for web development, it was a really common tool for doing a lot of just like basic file management and like Unix scripting stuff, very much like Perl or like Bash. And so this dir tool set is super, super powerful. It's part of the standard library. And one of the things that you'll notice is that it has this square bracket operator on the class level. There's also like another useful thing where there's a class method that is a square bracket operator. That's for hash. But in the case of dir, this is sort of an alias to dir.glob. And dir, if we call this dir square bracket operator, what we can do is we can pass an argument in here. And this argument can be a glob, or just like a sort of like, you know, this path matching things /icons/star.svg.each. So this will give us back a list of all of the files that are in the icons directory in any directory, and then our any file name with the SVG file extension. So if we just print that file name out and run this with Ruby convert to PNGs, you'll see a giant list of all of the different SVG files that we want to convert. So that's pretty cool. Now what we can do is we can call, thanks Copilot. So we want to call Inkscape. So Inkscape is this thing. So Inkscape is this drawing tool that you can use. It also has a way to interact with it from the command line. And so what we're going to do is we're going to shell out to Inkscape, and we're going to pass in a couple different arguments here. The first one is that we want to pass the file name, the raw file name, and then we want to pass -o and then the out file. So we're going to replace .svg at the end with .png. That's going to be our new file name. And then we're also going to say that we want the width to be 1024 and the height to be 1024. And then inside of the video, I will like resize these things as needed, but this should be a good start. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put a return right after this, just so that it only runs one time. So let's try running this again. So we're going to run Ruby convert to PNG. Now if we do git status, it created this file. So let's open that up and see what it looks like. Okay, this looks pretty sweet. Okay, this is super cool. Wow, is this actually text inside of the PNG? How does that work? That must be cool, a cool Mac thing. I don't know, but it looks like it actually does have the transparent background and everything. So that is pretty sweet. And it was pretty fast too. So what I want to do now is I'm just going to open up this convert to PNGs thing, remove my return, cross my fingers, and just let this roll. Let's actually, one other thing that we can, because I expect this to take quite a while, because this conversion is going to happen across like hundreds or maybe thousands of files. I expect this to take a while. So what we could do, just to know that the program is giving us, or like just to see a little bit of feedback that the program is actually running, I'm going to use the print with a dot. And this is similar to how you might expect tests to run, right? Like you're going to see all of your dots appearing as each individual tests run in sort of like the simplified format for a test. By adding this print dot, we'll have just a little bit of feedback about the progress. So if we wanted to see all of the files and count how many there are, we can do find all of the files in the current directory of type file with the name that ends in .svg. That's going to give us the whole list of files. And then we can pipe this to word count and then -L. That's going to tell us how many lines there are. So we're going to convert 793 files. So if we say Ruby convert to PNGs, now we should end up with 793 dots. And if we didn't print out the dot, we would just be sitting here waiting like, when is this going to end? Like, is this ever going to finish? Is something wrong? Is something broken? While this is running, I can open up a new tab and say get status, and I can see all of these images coming in. And we can actually take a look at some of these. So maybe let's open up like this Apache original and just take a look. We'll bask in the glory. The beautiful thing about using Inkscape is that it does a really great job of making sure that the SVG to PNG conversion happens and includes all of your colors and fonts. And it's very, very good at converting from SVG to PNG. Before using Inkscape, I tried to use ImageMagick, and apparently there's some gaps in ImageMagick's implementation of their SVG engine. And so it doesn't perfectly map over into all of the same colors and stuff. So all right, it's still running, it's still running, it's still running. This is looking good. All right, at some point, Inkscape printed out a giant warning message. It's just a warning though, so I'm not sure if that's if that matters. Also, I'm not sure exactly which file that was for, so we're just gonna let it roll. Done. Okay, cool. So there were a couple of different warnings that came from Inkscape, but I don't know which files they were, and it really doesn't matter because at the end of the day, I've got tons of PNGs now. Drop a comment down below in the video. Tell me what your favorite dir method is. What is your favorite method on directory? Because there's just so many. Cool. All right, see you next time. Cheers.